Thank you, Scott and Chris, for doing what I forgot to ask you to do. I appreciate you immensely. I also want to thank all of you for moving to the four pews of the church so that you are able to see and hear all that is presented to you. I'm kind of loud, so if you need me to tone it down, let me know. This informational meeting will be live streamed on Facebook and YouTube. It will be available for those who want to review it or for those who are not here with us today. The scripts from this meeting will also be mailed to the shut-ins. This meeting is now called to order. Pastor Debbie, will you please lead us in prayer?
Before we get started, though, I would like to thank the council members. The previous council and this council have worked really, really hard to be able to present this information today. And so I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Psalm 143 says, "Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my trust in you. Show me the way I should go, for you I entrust my life. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. May your good spirit lead me on level ground." Let us pray. Gracious Lord, we come to you asking for discernment. Your word says that if any of us lacks wisdom, we should ask you, who gives generously to all without finding fault. Lord, you know the difficult choices that lay before us, and so this morning, grant to the leaders of this congregation courage to speak honestly and openly about the choices which we have been exploring, and give all of us ears to hear and eyes to see those choices. We seek your wisdom and our discernment, and pray that whatever we decide aligns with your will. Help us to see the opportunities that you have called us to when you commissioned us to feed and tend your sheep. Lead us to the place you desire so that we may go and help and faithfully follow. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Debbie. As has been stated for the past several weeks, this is an informational meeting only. No voting will take place today. There will be time for questions and answers after each topic has been presented. Council's purpose is to inform all of our church family members on 5 areas relevant to keep Grace Lutheran moving forward. The first topic is an explanation of mergers, acquisitions, and consolidations. The second topic concerns our property. The third topic explains holy closure and closure. The fourth is our financial picture as of the end of April 2025. The final topic will be to continue as we have, but lessening our expenditures. It will be up to the congregation to decide which option is best for Grace Lutheran. Once that option is determined, a vote will be taken, and we will need a 2/3 majority. The graph that Pastor Debbie showed us in January originally had us at a closure date of October 31st, 2025. With the liquid funds we can access, we will be able to keep our property solvent until the end of December 2025. We have used a pool of funds donated by various benefactors and our monthly offerings. We are approaching the end of the undesignated funds. We will be conversing with benefactors of the designated funds to inquire about reallocation of those designations. These funds, however, will only be a stopgap measure and will run out. We are not going to be able to sustain our operating expenditures and this building through our offerings alone. This is why we need to make decisions sooner rather than later, before it becomes impossible for us to remain as Grace Lutheran Church of Red Lion. Current council has been researching and investigating the options that were started with previous council and rebuild. We, the congregation, have been tasked with several surveys to help us establish what is most important for the majority. We have acted upon your responses. The final survey has given us insight as to what our church family desires. 74% of us favor a place to worship, with the food pantry coming in close second, as that is an established service to our community of neighbors. The clothing ministry and outreach events like Halloween on the Street and New Year's Eve celebration rank third and fourth in our preferences. With the place of worship as our #1 priority, the council has spoken to other churches regarding mergers, acquisitions, consolidations, and shared spaces to rent. At this point, I would request that all of you hold your questions or your comments until Amy has finished presenting everything that she knows as of today. Amy will define these terms for you and share the information from other churches that we have already contacted. Amy?
Okay, just to be respectful of our time, if you want more, to be respectful of our time, there are details on your handout, so I won't go over every little detail. You can read that in your handout. I'd like to start by giving you some details on the differences between mergers, acquisitions, and consolidation. For any of these to work, keep in mind when Dave Delbert was here, his observation was that we needed at least 120 new giving units. Okay, we'll start with mergers. Churches have been merging for years. In fact, 30 years ago, Evangelical Lutheran Church in America was formed by merging of 3 Lutheran churches. These churches were the American Lutheran Church, the Association of Evangelical Lutheran Churches, and the Lutheran Church in America. A merger involves 2 or more churches joining forces to become one congregation. They would combine, integrate, and unify the people, structures, systems, and resources to better reach their community with God's message. They could also make a new name and basically start over as a new church, or they could decide to stay as separate congregations in their own building, or both of them go to a new location. Other decisions need to be made regarding leadership direction, decision-making authority, as well as whether to combine assets and finances and church employees. Things that will influence a merger include the churches agreeing to come together. In most mergers, one church would take the lead. We have been in contact with several churches, including St. Luke's Lutheran Church in New Bridgeville, Emmanuel Lutheran Church, Frysville, Kanadokalee Lutheran Church, York, as well as St. James Lutheran Church, Brogue, and St. Paul's Lebanon Church, Felton. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, none of these will work out. If you would like to see more details, please refer to the sheet that you have as a handout. Our next thing is acquisition. Another one of our options would be acquisition. An acquisition is the takeover of one church by another. One church would purchase the other church and take control of that church. The controlling church would be the surviving entity including inheriting all assets and liabilities of the acquired church. This process would combine resources, people, and structures to better serve the community. This could work either way. Either they acquire us or we acquire them. Our third option is consolidation. We were also in contact with St. John's UCC, and this would be where the consolidation could come in. It is the act of two or more churches merging into a single new entity because they are different denominations. In this case, Lutheran and United Church of Christ. All original churches are dissolved and a new unified entity is created. This would also mean having to come up with new bylaws, structures, even a new name. Again, for more details, see your printout. All three options have legal processes and expenses associated with them, in addition to the time it takes to meet with other churches and to get both congregations on board with the method of moving forward. Please also note that all of these choices, merger, acquisition, or consolidation, would affect pastoral leadership and all staff. At this time, the council will take any questions or comments on mergers, acquisitions, and consolidation only, please. What? Oh, and please go to the microphone if you have any questions on these. Okay, seeing none?
Thank you, Amy. You don't know how much research she had to do for that, or all of us together. So I would like to thank council for sitting down with me and meeting with the other councils of the other churches. It was a tough month. Current council and previous council met with Rock Realty. Mark will explain to you how this came about, and then he will give you the options discussed with them. Again, please be respectful of our presenter and save your questions and comments until Mark has completed his part of our conversation.
Good morning. Okay, I want to reemphasize something that was said earlier, how serious we have to take this stuff. We run out of money in December, okay? Keep that in mind. This is not something we keep pushing off, because some of these things are going to take some time. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't wait until the last minute and go, okay, let's do that one. You missed a boat. All right, one option, and I sat in one meeting with these people, they seemed real nice, and it was just kind of a general meeting. One option discussed with Rock is renting out space within the church, which would have us as the landlords. The value to rent out space would be about $385 a square foot, and with our church being a nonprofit, we would have some specific language needed in the contracts regarding the so-called rent. It could get sticky, we might even have to just declare it a donation, and if you're declaring a donation, well, maybe this month they don't want to donate. Also, I'm not a realtor or a lawyer, but if we're going to try to rent out the second floor, the American with Disabilities Act, would that be a problem, right? You can imagine how much it would cost to make the elevator go up to the next floor, money we don't have. So while that sounds all fine and good, there's a little bit more to it than meets the eye. Okay, another option discussed, selling a property outright and moving to another location that we would be looking to rent, lease, or buy. The valuation of our property is right around $780,000. After agent fees, we would have the rest of the funds to move and relocate the church ministries and continue our work as Grace Lutheran. So, as far as that option, it was also discussed at church council we would like to stay in the red line area because there are people in this area that really depend on the food bank and the clothing ministry. So that's going to limit our options as to find another place to go to if we're going to try to stay in the area. I think some of the church council did go and look at some other spots. The ones they looked at didn't look quite so nice. So that would be an ongoing project. The last option discussed with Rock was selling the property and leasing back a portion of the space. This option would leave us with 3 spaces, which would be what we consider our space, like the sanctuary would be our space, shared space, obviously where you come in the door, past the bathrooms, the area out here, the welcome area, since you couldn't really lock that off. That would more than likely be shared space. And their space. Obviously, whoever buys a building has to make a profit. Maybe our old office will become their office. We would move to the 2 small rooms back here. Maybe the whole second floor would be their space. They could rent that out. And depending on the contract, we may still be responsible for some of the building upkeep, maintenance costs, such as the air conditioners and the boiler. That would all be in the contract. And of course, at this point, we would not have any idea. This type of option requires more of an investor, which could take a bit more time to find someone interested in leasing back some of the space to us. So once again, I reemphasize, this isn't something we can wait till the last minute. We come up for a vote, come in serious and ready to make your decision. So I think that's about it. Oh, sure. Yeah. No, actually, I'm not. Any questions? I will try and answer if I can. Go get your own.
No, I was just wondering how much would be left over after the $780,000. Do we know what the realtor fee and what we still owe on the building kind of thing?
So, okay, then the loss will be approximately, or the cost will be approximately $80,000 off of the 780.
I'm going to step in here and remember, if we sell this building and relocate, we have to pay moving fees.
The other thing I want to consider is we might not get 780. That's our asking price. I always wondered the deed to this property. Whose name or what organization is actually on it? Corporation. What?
D says we are incorporated, so it's a corporation. I'm going to make sure.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't get up. I have a very loud.
That is okay. I will repeat your question.
I have a very loud voice. You're asking us. Wait, Carolyn. Oh, thank you. All right, you're telling us most of us, we know we need to change. You're talking about availability. Where are there buildings in red line for availability? How many?
Yes.
I've lived here for 8 years, and I would like to know where are the buildings that you're speaking about?
Okay, I can answer that. Members of council and previous council went to Dairyland Square and looked at the retail space. One of the retail spaces was nasty and had way too much space. It would have cost us probably $100,000 to repair that space. The other space is a retail front, and you have to pay for all sorts of different kinds of zoning because that is a retail space. I personally went to look at something that Rock Real Estate has on the market in Windsor on Main Street. It is currently up for sale. It was the Victory Global Church
Yes.
of Windsor. The exterior space looks okay. It has some wood damage that needs to be fixed, so that would be a cost to us. It is attached to, I would assume, a parsonage, which is now being rented out and looks atrocious, so we would have to deal with something there, because I'm not sure if the church owns it. It does not have an elevator. It does have parking. The parking is not the best, and as Amy said, if you have a fear of a bridge, you must cross a bridge to get to the church, and you must do that by walking. I had no problems crossing it.
Well, I'm sorry. Speaking about people that are in this church, most of us are older than you.
So,
And
Carolyn,
we would have. Excuse me. I got the floor here. Excuse me. The thing is, you are speaking about availability in this area. It's not just the availability, it's the cost. It's what's going to cost us to go wherever, and I think it's wonderful. We need a change. I wish we could keep this church and rent it out to different, we all believe in Jesus Christ and God unless we're Jewish, okay? And God, yes, but not Jesus Christ as our Savior. The point is, what does it cost versus where, if we go somewhere else, what is it going to cost us?
Okay, I can answer that. Victory Global Church is listed as $360,000. To purchase it, if we were to sell this property and to purchase that property, we would invest the $360,000 plus our moving costs. It is not the ideal location for anybody in a wheelchair. I'm going to tell you that right now. I go looking at properties with my father in mind. My father has a rollator. He is hard of hearing, and he stumbles often. So everywhere I go as my father, so that I have every single congregational member in my heart when I go. Did we look at any other spaces?
Carolyn, thank you for your question. It's something that we have thought about and how there is limited availability in this area. And that's where some of the conversations regarding mergers and acquisitions have presented us an opportunity that while if the congregation chooses to move in that direction, that we sell and relocate. Some congregations have been open to the idea of us sharing space until we find our next location. So I'm not saying that that is the decision. I'm just saying that that was part of the conversations that came up out of talking to like St. John's, for example. They seem much more open to the idea of sharing space there until we were able to find the perfect place if that's what the congregation would choose. So there are not a lot of available locations. Some are very untraditional when it comes to a religious setting and would require zoning changes. But we're looking at any and every possibility, and that's why we're here talking to you about every and any possibility, so that we're being as transparent as possible, so you have the information and you can make an informed decision when we come back for the vote.
I appreciate that, but at the same time... I appreciate what the council's done and what our pastor. We are a congregation. We are a congregation. We have the right to vote like any other citizen of the United States, okay? The fact is, you're proposing to tell us what we should do, but let me go back.
Read that first paragraph.
I just gave you 3 different options. I didn't tell you what to do.
All right, let's not get violent. Let's retract that.
That's not violent, but I'm going to say it firmly. We didn't tell you what to do.
No, I understand that. I want to retract that statement.
Can I read this real quick? I apologize. I'm not trying to cut you off, but to give a little backstory of how we got to this point to have this information.
I understand that, Christina. I'm saying at the same time, we appreciate what you're doing, but in reality, what is really available out there for us? And are we really going to get $780,000 for this property?
Well, that's a great question. I will say that Mount Pittsca out in Wrightsville just went up for sale too, and they actually went above. Not saying that'll happen to us, but it actually went above the asking value because there's people fighting. Because some churches are thriving in a different way than we are, and so they're needing to look for a larger location. But I want to read this because I think that this kind of helps to kind of bring the whole story together. In spring of 2024, members of council met with Rock Realty after a member of the congregation made a suggestion about looking into selling the grass lot that the church owns out there. Rock Realty agents came in and gave us a value of the lot, but they also told us that selling off that part of the whole property would decrease the overall value of the property, which they then provided us with the whole evaluation. And since that initial conversation last spring, various members of council have had 2 other meetings with Rock Realty, one in the fall and early winter to get updates on the market and everything like that, and then one recently so that the new members of council could be involved in the conversations. This was all to inform us so that we could pass that information on to you, and it all started at a suggestion by someone of the congregation of something that might help with the deficit. We are not trying to make any decisions. We are trying to present you with every piece of information that we have collected in the last years for some people, and present it to you so that we as a whole, as Grace, can be unified on what Grace is, and who Grace will be. We need to find a way to be unified in the decision of what Grace is going to become the future. And that is where we need to work together to take in all of this information. I know it's scary. I know it's not what you necessarily want or want to hear, but sometimes the truth is hard, and God tests us to see if we are listening to what His will is, and we are in that moment of trial right now. So please just take it all in. Council, I'm going off on a script that I didn't even have. Council will be present for conversations today, next weekend, before the next meeting, so that you, as you discern and you take in all of this information, we can try and answer any and every question. We know this is not easy and this is hard. And that's why we're here today on a rainy Sunday trying to fully inform everybody. And I apologize, Beth, for going off.
All right. Hey. Yep, Dylan here. I've been promoted or demoted to mic boy, so I will be going around with the mic.
Okay, I have a comment first to make and then probably a couple of questions. But I'm just interested in, do you know of anybody who really wants to buy the church? To me, you know, a lot of churches.
For the record, I said I wasn't going to speak at all today. So in the initial conversation that we had with Rock last spring, they had a church that they were talking to who was kind of in a flux too about trying to expand their religious institution. And so they were looking for a campus. They have one on the west end and the one on the east end, and they were looking for something more southern. So we did meet, a couple of us met just to have a very basic conversation, show them the church and see if they might be interested. Neither one of us were interested at the moment in anything pursuing. It was just kind of like service level. But there was one church that a year ago, I want to preface that, a year ago, was open to having a conversation to see if something might come of it, of buying the location, not of merging or acquiring. I just want to make sure that that's clear. I'm happy to say the church if you guys, I don't know if that other church is okay with me saying their name. Okay, but I won't say it out of respect for them because it was a private, confidential kind of conversation. But we did have a conversation with a church a year ago to look at the property to see if they would be interested if the opportunity ever presented itself.
Okay, as far as leasing, have you discussed with anybody who would be interested in leasing parts of our church?
No, because we would have to get into a contract with Rock to kind of pursue any of those people who are looking for a place like this. And we cannot go into a contract with anyone without the permission of the congregation because it's putting us into a contract. And so we have not. So we do not know what that landscape looks like. It's a big question mark if there's even someone who's interested in purchasing the property and then allowing us to lease back a portion of the space or any space at all. That conversation cannot really be investigated unless we were to go into a contract with Rock or whoever. It doesn't have to be Rock, it could be any of the other ones. But that cannot be further researched until we have a contract.
My thought, and this is just my opinion, is I think we kind of need to try to lease first before we consider selling. I've been in this church a long time. Yes, I am older and probably not as good to change as some, but to me, this is my place of worship, and I would like to try longer to try to do something and have us stay here. I know the council has done a lot of work, and I certainly appreciate that, and Pastor too, but I personally would like to take some more time and try to make it work and for us to stay here.
Can I just ask for some clarification? So if us looking to lease back, so you're saying that you're on board with trying to list the property to sell with the option to lease back? Because that's why I'm asking for clarification. Because right now, the options that were presented were merging, acquiring, consolidation, which Amy, after all the research, presented that at the moment, there are no real viable options in that area. Or selling the property with the option to lease back, or selling the property to move and relocate.
Using the wrong word.
Okay, that's why I wanted clarification.
Rent, for us to personally rent maybe to anybody or an organization or anything that is interested in maybe using our downstairs. To me, that's perfect
So
for somebody.
that is a great point, and we are trying to rent out the space downstairs more often. But to Mark's point is that with those contracts, because we're a nonprofit, it requires specific wording in there because we cannot charge rent per se. We have to ask for donations, then puts us in murky water that if someone would decide to not pay that donation for the month, then we're out that money. And the contract really limits us on being able to push forward and request that money back because of our status. So we would have to potentially, to fully lease out this building and maintain it as the landlords, we would potentially have to change our nonprofit status to a for-profit status so that we could actually collect the funds in, which then we lose a lot of the benefits of being a nonprofit. And we have to pay taxes.
I've been in this here church for a very long time, and it's easy for me to go back and forth because I don't live too far around here. And if we had to go to the other churches, that's going to be really difficult for me to have someone to drive me. And I love this here church a lot. I really do. But I know we need a big quiet space. In the winter, that's what we need. And we just need more space for the people, to have more people to come. Like every Lent every year, we have people from St. John's to come over here, and we just need more room.
Thank you, Marion.
I mean, I love this here church. I know.
We get it. We want to move you on, please.
Yes.
We have someone else who wants to say something.
Sorry.
What I don't understand is, we own the church now. After all the blood, sweat, and tears paying off the church, we own this church. We own this building. It's always going to be a church. Why? Why would we want to sell it and lease it back to pay it over
But,
again?
but that's a good question.
I don't understand
You're
this part.
correct, we own the church, but the upkeep and the maintenance.
I know, but why can't you go down over all these expenses and eliminate some of these expenses? These expenses are extraordinary.
We have,
I mean, just go through some of this, and even if we have to turn off the heat and wear our mittens and hats in the winter and bring our fans in the summer, I don't know. There seems to be a lot of expenses on here that I would
I've just been,
like to eliminate.
I've just been informed that we will be going over what you were talking about a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Jerry, in response to your question about leasing, in our Constitution, which we need to follow to the letter, it gives us, as a congregation, the authority to lease. Now, we have to have a 2/3 vote, so I think that is on the table.
Could you explain that a little bit more clearly? Gives us the authority to lease? Got to.
I can explain. Our Constitution does say that we can lease. It's the government that dictates on how we can lease. I thought I had made that clear. We can lease. There are obstacles with it.
Thank you. Oh, we have another one, Barb. I'm sorry.
I don't even know if I want to. My question was about renting. And Christine answered that. We cannot do that. Can donate. They can donate. My only point was my daughter's church. They have 2 other congregations within their church space that and she calls it rent. So I don't know how that works. I will clarify that with her. But they rent the space, and they have their services at different times. So it was just a,
Okay, so I can speak a little bit to this because at my previous congregation that I served, we had a daycare that rented space from the church. And if you make over a certain amount of money, it becomes for profit. In which case you turn it over to it's a taxable entity. We have to pay real estate taxes, all kinds of stuff. But because the contract was written as a donation, which both parties knew had to be paid monthly in order for it to work, right? The daycare lasted for 25 plus years under that written contract that said it was a donation, suggested donation. They paid what they were supposed to pay. When you rent to somebody, you're going to vet them to make sure that the situation is going to work. So I don't see a problem with that. However, if we do just, and also if you're renting to another nonprofit, it makes a difference also. They're nonprofit, you're nonprofit. If you're renting to another congregation, they're nonprofit. If you're renting to a daycare, this was a nonprofit daycare. So those are things to keep in mind. It's possible to do. I mean, Viley's did it for over 25 years. So it's just the amount of money that we'd have to collect to be able to sustain our budget, which will be coming up in a little bit.
I feel like Mark was under the gun here. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, Christine, for all your explanations. I also want to thank Pastor for filling us in on the part that we know but didn't think to answer you with. So another option addressed in the Lutheran Constitution is holy closure and closure. Jane will explain the options and what it means for us as Grace Lutheran Church of Red Lion.
Okay, can you hear me okay? Okay. The Bible doesn't explicitly forbid church closures, but it emphasizes that the church is a people of God, not a building, and that God's promise is to build his church. Holy closure refers to a multi-step, faith-based process that a congregation undertakes when it acknowledges that the most faithful action is to close its church. This process involves discernment, reflection, and acknowledging the need for a grieving period as a congregation transitions. Here's a more detailed explanation. Discernment and decision. Holy closure is typically initiated when a congregation no longer has the resources, people, or energy to fulfill its mission. This decision is made through a process of prayer, reflection, and discussion. Grieving process. It's natural for there to be a grieving period as a congregation acknowledges the end of its ministry. Legacy and partnership. When holy closure occurs, the congregation can explore opportunities to partner with other ministries or charities, often by leaving a legacy gift of assets accumulated over the years. What this means is the synod does not get any of the assets unless we designate. New beginnings. While it's an ending, it's also a beginning. Congregation members may find new church homes and carry on the work of sharing God's love, while new congregations can welcome those who have closed. Legal and practical considerations. Dissolving an incorporated church requires following state nonprofit corporation laws, which are generally regulated by state law, and this could cost approximately $15,000. Now, if no decision is made, we can't come to an agreement about anything. Everything we have reverts back to the synod. Any questions? Pardon? Yeah, do nothing and lose it all. If no decision is made, no agreement, everything refers back to the synod. Our assets. I know this is all a lot for everyone to take in today. Dylan?
I have one question. Thank goodness for people who left endowments to this church many years ago. The question is, if we didn't have these endowments that enabled us to keep this church open, apparently it did. How long have we used all the endowments to keep this church open? I mean, I have been here only 8
Decades.
years. Excuse me?
Decades.
Decades. So thank God for people that left us endowments. Now, I'm one that would never, because I don't have anything. I do have God, and I have Jesus Christ. But I'm saying, if we have decades, so many years ago, people should have prepared more so for this ending that's about to happen here. Okay? So we're at where we're at, and we're stuck with deciding what will become of this church. We all go to church, we love God and Jesus Christ, but we also love this church, and we'd like to see it survive. But if the endowments have run out and the people that go to this church cannot afford to keep this church running, then we do have to find other ways to keep it running.
Thank you, Carolyn. And Tom, when it's his turn, he'll explain our financial situation
and
a
I
little
want
bit
to
more.
apologize. No, Mark, I apologize to you. I don't know. He leave. Okay. Oh, he's not hiding. He's just. I apologize. The congregation, the meeting, the council have done a good job, and I'm not saying that they haven't, and I really appreciate it. And I love coming to this church, and I have heard stories that this church used to have 200 people here, and I think that's wonderful, but that was many years ago. And yes, I would love to see that, but I do go to other churches, and I've seen how churches have died. And no,
All right. Thank you, Carolyn. We're going to move on.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say that, as we were saying earlier, and Tom's about to get up and talk about the financial picture, our endowments are not completely utilized at this time. Our endowments are not gone. Our endowments are not completely utilized at this time. We just have an issue of our liquid money and what we're able to spend and what we have is gone, and what's been left identified towards general operational expenses is what's done. And then there's a legal obligation to the people who have passed the money to us that we have to honor their wishes. So now we're at the point where we need to approach the families and say, hey, would you consider deciding that you don't just want it to go for the organ, that you may want it to go to pay the rent for the month or the heat for the month? Yes. So I didn't want you to think that we've gone through all of those monies, because there's quite a lot. And
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, Carolyn. That was an excellent question, Chris. Thank you so much for clarifying designated and undesignated funds, and I think Tom's going to explain more of that. No matter which option we choose, we need to be good stewards of the money that remains. Tom is going to share our financial picture, and again, I'm sure some of you are going to have or repeat the same questions, so Tom can answer them, and he is our finance guy. Does a great job.
Good morning. Are you comfortable? I knew you would be here. Some optimism.
There's a reason it's so cold today, because this is the first time we've used the air conditioning this season, and with all the work that's been done on the boiler and the boards and everything else, we don't know. So this was a test today. I promise you'll be a little more comfortable next week. This is the first time this season we've had the air conditioning on. So this is a test day. I know, I'm freezing. I want a blanket. But I'm not a good steward of that. So next week, I promise it'll be more comfortable. But we've had everything gone over with a fine-tooth comb, and that was a big expense. So that's another one that we'll talk about overhead. But I promise you'll be warmer next week.
I am fortunate enough to present the financial picture here. But I am honored. Okay, so let's just go to the first slide, if you will. I brought a slideshow. They? Okay, so as you can see here, we're in the middle. Income is lower than the expenses going out. There are two sides to this equation. It's the amount of money coming in that fluctuates, and of course the expenses that we talked about a little earlier. Thank you, Nancy. We can work both sides of these equations. When we talk about a December closure, that is if nothing changes the way we're doing it today. We were here to just present options, and we need lead time. It's difficult to say with the options that were presented that even 7 months would be enough time to accomplish any of those. So there are some things we can do to help make a decision across the united congregation. Thank you for that, Christine, earlier. So let's jump into this, if you don't mind advancing the slide. And I think if you go into full screen mode, Christopher, we can, you could probably advance. I think we're in read mode. Just hit that down arrow, bud. See that down arrow? There's a little, if you just hit this down arrow here. Left, 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 left. The other down. Don't print. The other down. You're so close. There we go. All right. Okay, so I'm not prepared to go through the line item budget. The line item budget has been provided to everyone at an earlier congregation, a couple ago. It's not that I'm hiding from it. I've got plans this afternoon, so, but I am always open for questions as well. But what I'd like to do is talk about the 4 sections of the budget that we represent, and that's the general fund, the benevolence fund, the property fund, and the building fund. So if you would advance, we're just going to go through each one of these, okay? If you'll scroll up just a little bit. Okay, so the income for general fund is offerings and trust distributions. We have trusts that earn interest, and it gets distributed to us. So those are our income towards the general fund. And what the general fund covers in expenses are salaries, business operations, and building maintenance. Okay? Do we all agree we are a nonprofit business? Okay. It's important to recognize that, right? So, so when you look at this, we have income of $127,600. Now, these budgets are based on projected 2025 from last year's performance. We've not approved a budget, but these are the projections. Again, this is if nothing changes. This is where we're at. Okay? And then expenses are $244,300 for a $116,700 net loss for the general fund. Okay? I won't belabor that. If you go to the next slide, please. When we look at benevolence, the incomes are, again, offerings, because you can designate on your envelope, and food bank donations, which equal $33,600. Expenses for this include ministries, food bank, and community outreach that operates at a projected $38,500, posting a net loss of $4,900. Okay, we're going to go through the next fund, please. Okay, it's the property fund. Again, income is from offerings and modest rent income for things such as the parking lot. Parking. Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we do have some other income coming in down in the social center. Okay. Oh, maybe I shouldn't put rent. Well, the government's going to come after us. But that income is $23,800, and the expenses are $69,800, casting a net loss of $46,000. You're starting to see how we got here? Perhaps. Okay, if we could go to the next slide, please. This building fund, while I found no expenses allocated to this fund, can you clarify that? Okay, so if you could clarify, because we do get offerings and other income of 41. Okay.
That $4,100 represents almost probably an 18-month period of time.
Okay. I didn't know if I accurately posted there that we apply this to the property fund or not, or do we just hold that money?
No, it's capital expenditures. We can move that money wherever we want,
Okay.
but there isn't a big...
It's modest, yeah.
Yeah,
No.
fair.
All right, thank you. So if you could advance to the next slide, I kind of summarize this. Can you advance that, Scott? Oh, okay. Thank you. If you go down...
There we go.
Okay. So this is just a summary of what we just talked about here. And as you see, this is how we arrive at our $164,000 net loss. If you'd advance the slide again, for obvious reasons. Can you advance? Yep, please. That is a deficit. Okay, a significant deficit. I don't think this is... Sure. Okay. Well, loss is in parentheses up there. So I put the number in parentheses to represent that it is a negative number. Okay? Hence a deficit. Thank you. Okay, if you could advance the slide, this one's painful enough. Actually, is this a surprise? Is this a total surprise to anyone here? And I know I'm kind of calling someone out if it is.
Personally, in the years that I've been here at Grace and have voted for a budget, I have never voted for a budget that was balanced. And in the past, it was a miracle that, however, that deficit was made up, because I don't know how that was done. But I have never, ever voted for that, in my recollection, that for a balanced budget. And so this is not a surprise. The difference is I don't know where the miracle came from that took care of it before. And okay, so okay, but I'm just saying we are in a situation, and you know, this is not new, but now there's a reckoning.
Thank you, Barb.
I can tell you how that miracle happened. We always had an excess amount in the checking account, a big excess. And I've been doing this job for 21 years, and we've voted for a deficit budget every one of those 21 years, so Barb is right. And it was given to everybody in black and white. But, as I said, we always had an excess amount in the checking account, and we chipped away at that, and sometimes we chunked away at that, and sometimes we used a bulldozer away at that. So it isn't there anymore.
Okay. No, I kind of stepped in it.
If we sell this here church, I might as well go to St. John's, where it's closer. I was thinking about that. Because we got to do something to save this here church, is do a lot of funds, do what we usually do, have events to save it.
That's great. Thank you.
I mean, the women's group did a lot in the past.
Yep.
Yeah, but now we're on the budget.
I like your track.
And we got to do something about this.
I like your track of thinking here. Thank you. All right, if we could go to the next slide, Scott. Oh.
Okay, I just want to remind everybody, can you hear me? That these numbers right now we're talking about are budget numbers. These are not actual numbers of what we're expending because we still haven't passed the budget. But these are the numbers that if we change nothing and ideally can spend money on everything we want to spend it on, these are the numbers.
Thank you. Okay, so a little detail on the investment funds that we do have, or I call them rainy day funds. I hope I'm not too egregious there. We have a benefactor, it's called CHB fund. It's benefactor designated funds. Okay, so that looks like a lot of money. It is a lot of money for me. But they are designated funds. So these benefactors gave amounts that total this that are designated to things such as music, organ, children programs, air conditioning. Someone had a hot summer during the Depression or something, I don't know, but and they said that will not happen again. But these are, and it's not completely limited to this, but this just gives you a profile of what these funds are designated for. If you don't mind advancing the slide, the next slide. Is that it? One more. Okay. All right. So, addressing these financial challenges. So we have some near-term and some long-term decisions to make as a congregation, okay? And the best we can do is to inform you and give you all the facts. Hence, again, do not be upset by the options presented this morning. They are really an effort to be transparent and get you involved in the decision-making. And I see we've riled the spirit in some of you. That's great. So thank you. So the operation, our expenses exceed income. The operation expenses of business in this building are excessive, as you saw in the earlier slide. To restore financial balance, there are two facets. Two sides of the equation, lowering expenses and increasing income. Both strategies can work simultaneously to improve our stability and give us time to make the decisions we need to make. If you could advance the slide one more time. How can I help? Okay, as always, more money helps, and not everybody has more money. I understand that. But there are some creative ways where you could sponsor business operation expenses through donation to start to quell and lower the heavy expense side of the equation. You can also volunteer your time to replace paid operational tasks for running our small business here. And it's not that small, actually, but our not-for-profit business. Additionally, volunteers. There's plenty of people that have volunteered here for a long time. They may be tired. There's other volunteership you could do. You can go out and grow the congregation. I think we have 300 members on record, plus, right? But 87 giving units. So there are some folks out there that have an affinity for grace that may need to be reminded. And that volunteership, we used to do it all the time. Nancy related to me. You'd go and visit. You'd schedule a visit and just talk to them about what we're doing at Grace. These are all volunteership opportunities for us to start to balance this equation as, again, we work through these very difficult decisions. Now, Dee came up with a very nice representation, thank you, of how sponsorship, how it really prints through and how your money could actually, is that extra money really, how's it going to really impact? So if you don't mind advancing the slide, here's some examples that hopefully are relatable. So if someone could increase their commitment by $2 per week for a year, it would cover a supply organist performance. $3 a week for a year would cover 1 month water bill. So if 12 people offered $3 extra a week for a year, no more water bill. I'm going to jump down. $7 would pay 1 month of internet. 12 people increasing by $7. Internet bill would be gone. I'm going to jump ahead because I know you all can read. $13 a month would cover 1 month of the bookkeeping contract. $13 a week. So I think you get the picture, and I think this is a great example that shows what your impact could be. But we all have our financial challenges. Additionally, it's volunteer to do tasks within the church. I'm not prepared to outline all those, but from our leadership group in the council, what I'd like to offer is that we will begin defining well-defined volunteer tasks as well as the hours that they require and the type of task, and the impact it could make on this same equation. We have some work to do there, but then the goal is to make it more inviting and more digestible to see, oh, me coming in on Tuesday for 2 hours will have this impact on the budget. It may compel you to reserve that time and commit it. So that's all I was prepared for today as far as presenting, and I will now open it up for questions.
Is it possible that we approach small businesses in the community and have some of these sponsorships in their name for exchange for them giving, like, say, Chad Ward's Enterprises sponsors the copy machine, and then in the bulletin we have thanks to their business community, or is that illegal?
It would have to be a project that we could present to them. It worked very, very successfully for the refitting of the clothing ministry, which we've gotten so much positive feedback on that. That can't be measured in dollars. But yeah, we'd have to have some sort of project. It could be the bulletin. It could be help us clean the church for a month. You know, I don't know. We'd have to look into the legalities of some of those things.
In part of our investigation and research, we did talk, because one of the suggestions on the papers handed out and surveyed was reaching out to the people who did Franklin Street and Black Cap and see if they might be interested in, buying and leasing back or buying parking spots or what have you. Jordan is his name, who did all of that. This is not his forte. He's apartments and rental space for boutiques and stuff. However, he did offer that in the event that we need any construction, like the roof or anything like that, he would love to be a community partner with us in that way. I know that doesn't solve our problems, but I just want you to see that we are trying to talk to everyone and anyone in the hopes to try and cast that net and grab at least something back on the right side of the boat. Yeah. So I have to leave. It's not because I don't find this important. I have a commitment to the senior center, but I just want to reiterate that we need to be unified in this decision and work together to figure out this decision. We are not two different congregations. We are one as Grace, unified and as whole, and we need to work together for that decision.
Thank you. Yep. If there's no further questions, thank you for your time. And please, Dylan, can you?
Increase giving like $2 a week or, whatever. The impact. Will you post that somewhere?
Sure. We'll post that.
In your emails or whatever.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, Debbie has a comment before we move on. Debbie, is this a comment for Tom? A question for Tom? Okay. You're coming up front? Okay.
Oh, no, I'm cool right here, don't you know? I ain't fancy. I just came to say thank you very much. Sorry, I ain't no microphone queen. I just want to come up and say thank you to the board, to all the members of the church. And it's a big time for us to decide what we're going to do with our church. But before everybody starts getting crazy with each other because somebody wants to do this or that, you have to remember what you all have given me. I've been here for 17 years. You've given me your little boys that grew up to be big men. You have given me your smiles and your hugs and your love. Even if you don't know my face, you have made me cards. You have prayed for me. You were a mental health therapist for me. You have put me back together when my mental illnesses were bad. Please don't get angry at each other. You may be angry at the next word that comes out of my mouth, but this is only a building. You are what saved me. Look at me. Look at me now. You people are what saved me from committing suicide so many times. Do you hear me? This is a building that I love, but I love all of you first. Do you know I just was in Florida? If you didn't, pull my skirt up a little bit, you can see my tan. Do you know who the lady is in this church that always saves me when I go away in the big plane? Well, if you don't, she's really sexy and tall. Her name is Suzanne. I call her Susie. I'm the only one that gets away with that, don't you know? It's like the big man that sits in the back with the bald head, Scotty. Don't call him that. Don't call him that. Only me and his mom. But and there's a sexy lady right back there. I don't know. She might be 69 or something. I think she's 2 years older than me. She wears a red skirt. Lois, wave at me. She's not waving at me. She can't hear me. Lois! Hey, girlfriend. She gets wild when it's... But are you hearing me? Please. Jesus was born in a stable. Jesus preached in a field. I know you love this church, but please remember that. It's not about the money. It's not about the building. It's what you gave me. It's what each one of you gave me. You didn't let me drown when I wanted to commit suicide. Some of you didn't even know. You hugged me, and it gave me strength to get through the week. It's not about this church. It's about what you all gave me. And I'm sorry I'm a ball baby. I was supposed to come up here and shake my titties and be all okay. Oops, I wasn't supposed to say that in church, was I? Sorry.
No.
Sorry I took too long.
No, you didn't take too long. You're making us all cry. And we have to finish.
Oh, you don't have to clap. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
She has a point.
I didn't mean
We're
to get
fishermen.
off I didn't mean to get off your money stuff, but I just didn't want you to leave and not know how important you are. You're so important. It's the people, it's not the building. It's you guys. The building's grand. I love my building. But I love you all first. Do you know what Nancy Golden does? She's a fairy. She's a movie star first because she's gorgeous. But Miss Nancy Golden is so kind. You can see her from afar and hey, movie star. She knows it's me. She knows it's me from 50 paces. But you can ask her for anything. Nancy, I don't have a nurse this weekend. Nancy, can you bring me a meal? Oh, my gosh, yes, she says. She'll bring you a meal right over. Nancy Golden, Miss Ellen, I could tell you anything about her. Do you know it's okay if your family doesn't love you? Did you know that, Beth?
That's because we all have a church family.
No, it ain't a church family. God sends you a love family. That's Miss Ellen's secret. Just in case you get in a pickle anywhere and you're out shopping and there are nasty people, you must say hi to them. Because somebody might have just beat the hell out of them. It's okay. It's okay. Because Miss Ellen said that, and she knows everything.
Can I set you down now?
I got to go home.
Oh,
Miss Ellen, we don't want to hold her up. I got to go sit down. You got to say a prayer. I'm wondering how to close. You got to pray.
Well.
No.
Debbie did it.
Ball baby face. Maybe you got to pray.
Okay. So I'm up here crying.
It's okay. Get it together. Somebody got to shake something.
So we used to say, if you're going to cry, squeeze your butt cheeks. I'm squeezing. I'm squeezing.
Looks good. He can do it to the pray.
Okay, all the viable options that we have will require legal consultation. And we know that's not going to be cheap. And we know we need to leave that in reserves. Mark, I don't think he's here anymore, but he sent me a text. He wants you to understand that if we, and I think this comes from either our Constitution or the Synod, I'm not sure where, but it came from Mark. If we do nothing, that's a sin. If we do nothing, the sin takes over and we get nothing. And he thinks that was stated at the last council meeting. But I will tell you, I'm not going to close. I'm going to have Chris close because she made a statement that I couldn't write fast enough. And she told me she speaks out a lot. And I know she speaks out a lot. But this is a different kind of speaking out. And this is something that needs to be heard. Come on up, Chris.
Well, it really wasn't well, as a member of council this year, I think this council is in a very, very difficult position to address something that no one wants to really admit is happening. One thing that we're hoping that you walk away from today is that you have no idea what council's opinion is or what each member of us want. We hope that we've provided you an objective information so that you can make an objective, informed decision on what is good in your hearts and what is the best for the congregation. And we hope that you meditate upon these things and pray about these things. And feel free to ask any of us council members any questions to clarify anything. When we come back to vote on the 18th of May, we hope that everyone can make an informed decision. We want complete transparency, but we also want to leave you with hope. We hope this isn't the end. We are the ones who can make sure that it is not. So please, thank you for listening to us, and we hope that you do make your own decisions.
I left my notes so she could finish it, but she didn't. It's okay. Please, thank you, Chris. Please take the papers. Please take the papers. There's a lot of information in them. And please remember that we will need a 2/3 majority vote, and the next congregational meeting will be held at 10:45 on May 18th. And as you're leaving, Jane has the agenda. She is going to be passing that agenda for the May 18th meeting out to you so that you all can see what's going on. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I do.
Absolutely.
I was out taking care of a customer at 10:30, so I was not here at the end of the service. But I wanted to clarify Saturday's postal food drive. It's from it's from 1:30 to 5:30. We get a lot of, well, last year we had over 4,000 pounds of food. So if anybody can help, I just wanted to clarify that because I heard that there was a different time given. So 1:30 to 5:30, anytime you can help in that time would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. So I had a first, which was D, and I had a second, which was Dylan, or they were right. D and Dylan, first and second. All in favor of adjourning? Any opposed? Motion passed.